Hello everyone, welcome to the next session of SAP Security. In this session we will be discussing about transporting authorization changes. First of all, we need to understand what is transport. Transport means it's a package of the changes which you have developed or package of the developments which you have done. So this package will be transported from one system to another system in your landscape using transport request. We call this TR, transport request. Say, let's say for example we have three system landscape. We have development, quality and production. In some cases you will have four system landscape. You will have development, quality, approval and production. Maybe five system landscape. You will have development, quality, approval system, then pre-production and production. So this is a three system landscape, very simple landscape. You have development, quality and production. If you see in development you have two different clients, you have 100 and 200. The transport between two different clients within the same system can be done without a transport management. Directly you can transport to different clients from within the system using some transaction called SEC1, copy transport. It's called copy transport. We will see that on also how do we do that. But in our case we may not require this SEC1 because we have a different form of transporting our roles in a better way. It's something called download and upload that roles. It's quite easier than transporting. But if you want to transport along with the personal data or some user assignment, then you have to transport using TRs. So if you see in quality system you have two different clients. You can also transport the same time to two different clients, but that needs to be set up in the transport management system, STMS, which will be done by the basis team. Then it will be transported to productive system. So the underlying point here is that when you want to transport any role change between one system to another system, between SAP system, that means from development to QA to production, then you need to create transport request and transport these changes. Not only the roles we will be transporting, let's say we have seen SU25 for example, that you will be doing some changes in your standard SU24. Then also you will create transport requests and transport the changes to quality and production. That changes will be an workbench change, it's an ABAP change. Then you will create a workbench transport request and transport it. You have two different kind of transport requests. You need to understand. You have something called workbench related transport request, which will be created by ABAP basically, which has the program as well as tables and changes in the objects, ABAP objects. We have something called customizing object, which is the changes which is coming from functional, creating customizing object like company codes and this type of company codes, profit center, cost center. These are all customizing changes. This will be transported customizing TRs. We already seen workbench related changes means it will affect the entire system. That means all the clients. When you create a program, this client will be available all, but when you create a customizing change, it will be available only to the specific client. In our role change, whatever we change in the roles, these are all customizing changes. This is considered as customizing change. This customizing change will be transported from one system to another system using TR. So you need to import your role to each client in order to get the roles or get the role changes into the specific client. So it is client specific customizing. It is not cross client. So our roles needs to be transported to each client wherever you are required. That is the key point here. Okay, in general, when you do any changes in the SAP system, in your development system, there is some settings which base is already enabled. Whenever you do any change, it will prompt you to create a TR for this change. Well, let's say in ABAP or functional customizing. Whenever they do any changes, it will prompt you to transport this particular change or create a transport request for this change. That is the difference between your authorization changes and other changes. Okay, the reason why, for example, ABAP, whenever they do any change, they are prompted to create a change request. That's because that particular change, particular program will be locked for development within this particular transport request. That means until unless you release the transport, that somebody else should not change this program. That means somebody is working on this program. But in role development, that you do not have this kind of prompting mechanism. There is quite a lot of reasons for this. That means you can do individually create these roles irrespective of development and quality and production. If you have authorization, you can also create roles in productive system. It will not create a TR. So this is quite different than the other customizing or workbench related changes. You will not be prompted for transport request, but you need to transport the changes manually once you have done this one. That is also one of another uh, problem or an difficulty which you may face in your working in a larger system, that you do not have a locking mechanism for your changes. So the version does not match. The version may be overwritten in some cases, meaning to say, let's say you have an ABAP program. You have a program that somebody created this program. This is called program version 1, and after some time you edit this program, you do something changes, then you transfer to quality, and but it did not go to production yet. In production you have program 1, your program 2 is in quality, then you do something changes in the development again, that is called version 3. When you have something called version comparison, in ABAP they can go back and see, they can compare this program from quality to production. They know, okay, there is a different version which is sitting in quality, but in production there is a different version. So they can compare this version in each system. However, this kind of version comparison is not possible in authorization changes. That's the reason we do not have this locking mechanism in order to control these versions. So you need to be aware of how you are going to control these changes when it goes to production, or you need to find a mechanism saying that, okay, I am going to do these changes for this specific role till it goes to production. I'm not going to change anything else here, or nobody should change this one. This you need to identify, and you need to find some mechanism. How are you going to control these changes which originated from development, how it's going to reach production. First, let us see how to create a transport request. Let's go to our system. So go to PFCG. Let's take one role which we created previously. This role is a single role which has some authorization which we already developed. So now we wanted to transport this role to a different system or quality system. Let's assume this is our development system. Then you simply click here, transport role. Then you will come to this screen, it asking mass transport of role. You can do mass transport of role. You will come to that in the second stage. So once you come here, it will ask you also transport the generated profile for single roles. This means, so this is the flag you can select to confirm whether you want to transport the profiles or you do not want to transport profiles. As you know, when we created this role, it has a profile. Okay, then you can transport the role with profile or without profile. Now you may be a little confused. Why do we need to select this profile? Whenever I create a role, you have a profile, I can transport it. This may be a question, maybe you are getting it now. let me explain it little more in detail. How does the profile logic works? So when we created this role, the profile was created automatically. It's a running number, as you've seen. It's with something. Let me go back. It's something t underscore pd, then some numbers. So this is a running number. Okay, it's generated by SAP system. So why we have an option? So whenever you create a role, it is always good to transport the profile. So you don't need to regenerate and do something again in the productive system. So role and profile goes together, because profile is the actual technical object which is assigned to the user, which we already know. You can also transport the role without profile. You go to a different system and you can generate the profile there. The reason is, maybe you have a different profile naming convention in a different system. That could be one reason. The another main reason is, the sequence number in the target system which you are going to transport may be different. Meaning to say, let's say right now I am transporting it with this number. Okay, for some reason this may not happen in the new system, this may happen in the older system. For some reason, the numbers, the profile numbers in your productive system, somebody, okay, before you or somebody created an authorization concept, they used to create profile in the productive systems. Okay, and productive system see the sequence number went ahead. They are also, let's assume they are also using the same naming convention, and the numbers which is there in the productive system went ahead of this number. They are in almost starting with 6, let's assume. So that means they are already ahead of this serial number, meaning to say there is a possibility that they already have this generated number in their system or in that system. Okay, maybe a little more, maybe it's a little confusing now. Let me explain it in a different way. Okay, in the development system, so let's assume the generation of profiles in my development and quality, everything in the same sequence number. Let's say start with PD, then have some numbers. Okay, this is my profile naming convention. So in my development system, my current profile naming convention is, this is my naming convention. In quality system, okay, also same, let's assume. But in productive system, my productive system, the naming convention is, at the moment it is something like this. Okay, 66 something like this, or 000. Okay, as you've seen, this is a running number. Okay, in the productive system, present running number is like this. That means there is so many roles which was created in productive system before. Okay, don't get confused. Why do we have, maybe you have again something in your mind, why do we have this kind of numbers? Why we have more profiles than the development system? The possibility may be we created so many roles in development before and deleted it. The possible roles in your productive system should be same like development system, but we created, before we used to create everything in production and we deleted, somehow this number went up. So what will happen is, and if let's assume there is a profile for a different role in productive system with the same profile number, let's say there is a role in productive system is set underscore something CA cross application, something master role or some derive role, something was there. Okay, some role which has a profile number already with this profile in your productive system. So right now my role, the new role which I have created, also have the same profile. So when you transport this particular role to productive system, this is going to have a conflict with this role. This profile, actually it will transport, it will put it back and it will give you some errors, and there will be some conflict, and the profile name and the and your role name will not match. So that is the reason some cases, some complex systems, that we will not transport your profile from development to production. So what will happen is you transport it to productive system without profile and you generate profile in production, then it will go to the next sequence number which is available after this. So you do not have a conflict with the profile numbers. That is one more reason. So the best practice to do a role development, or do not create any roles in productive system. If you want to have a perfect system, you need to follow this very clearly, because resetting these profiles after some time, it will be a quite complex or quite unpleasant things. Yeah, so we need to start from beginning itself. Beginning, people least bothered about all these things, some basis or somebody who did this one, then copying the systems from one place to another place. Then after that, these things, these kind of issues that you are going to face after 5-6 years, when the system is become growing, users are growing, your roles are growing, then you will find all these problems. So the perfect scenario to start perfect profile management, that you start a productive system same like your development system. So whenever you create any role in your productive system, you create it from development and transport it to production, and do not create any roles, or do not create any profiles in productive system. Then your profile name will be consistent with your development system. So any change you do, you create it from development system, then you transport it to production, then you do not have any problem. So if you stick to this plan, then you do not have this kind of problems. The another problem why this can happen is, you normally what happens is, when you do an implementation project, you have development, you have quality, and you do lot of changes in development and put it into quality. Then people will have keep something called golden client. Yeah, then in some scenarios, people will have some, you will have some pre-production where you will not have any actual data, but you will have all the customizing and workbench changes will reach there. Then you will make this as an productive system. Otherwise you copy from development and put in, make a productive system that you do not have any transactional data. Then you start cleaning up something and you will make this as a productive system. Otherwise you start from fresh. You again depends on what kind of situation you are in, how to start a development system. This again comes from your architect, or who is going to design your landscape. They will design all these things. But in a scenario like this, let's say you copy the development system and put it into production, then it's going to be consistent. Or if you copy a pre-production or a quality system which you used to play around with lot of authorization changes, but do not have any customer specific data, you copy that one and put it here, then your profile is going to be again inconsistent. So that could be another scenario that you wanted to avoid these kind of problems. So that's the reason we have this option, that you wanted to transport profile or don't want to transport profile. Based on your scenario, you need to conform, you need to identify and have a process saying that, okay, I'm not going to transport any profile to productive system. Then you click here, then you can remove this transport. Generally, let's assume in a perfect scenario I will always transport with profile, so I don't want to create any problems when it goes to productive system. And execute. Okay, now you have some information which is provided by SAP. This is what I love SAP, the way they work. So you have very detailed information step by step. What are you doing here now? For example, transporting role. It says when the role, the same thing what we discussed before. When the role was transported, the associated authorization profiles are transported as well. In contrast to earlier release, there's a profile therefore no longer need to be regenerated in the transaction SUPC. However, you do not need to perform user master comparison for all imported role after completing the import to the target system. So what they say here is in the earlier release that you used to generate the profiles in the target system. Now you don't need to do that. If the profile is transported, then you don't need to do this. Once you have created a role for transporting request, you should not make any more changes in the authorization profile in the role. That if you change the profile or generate them for the first time, you should enter the entire role transport request after making the changes. This is again a very important point. As we discussed, we said the roles does not have the locking mechanism. Whenever you change anything, it will not ask you to it will not prompt you to create a transaction code. The reason is, again, that's what it means. This is again related to that. Let's say once you finish everything, once you finish the whole changes, then you create a transport. You create the transport after you release. If you do any changes in the product, in the role, then that will not be effective in your transport. Okay, but you can create a transport before releasing the transport. You can still do the changes. Right now we are in the creation process, we have not come to the release. You can do changes until you release the transport request. The role entered in the customizing transport request you can display using SE10. You can also do it in SE01, SE10, SE09. We will come to the transactions. How do we check that? Next, we have another important information. Transporting user assignment for role. This is again very important to understand. On the next screen, you are going to select whether the user assignment should be transported as well or not. Please note, if you are transporting the user assignment as well, the complete user assignment for the role in the target system is going to be replaced. This is very, very important, because I have seen people in the initial stage couldn't get this one. Somebody come new and you ask them to create a role, they created role and transported it, then it's gone in the development system or productive system, and suddenly you have a bigger problem. We are going to get to that screen. So if you select that transport user assignment, this is going to take all the user assignment in the tab, say users, is going to take all the user assignment, going to take into your target system. And let's assume that you are doing some changes in this role. In your target system, in your productive system, you have productive users who are assigned to this role. In the development system, you may not have all these roles or all these users, and you are going to transport the role with these users going to productive system. All the existing users who was assigned to this role will be replaced with the one which you are transporting from the development system. So be very careful. That means, for example, in the development system, I have developer 01 and developer 02, developer 03. Like this, 3 user was assigned to this role. In the productive system, I have end user 80 user 90, user 11, and user 02. Like this, 4 user was assigned to the role which I am trying to transport. Let's say if I transport along with the user, this is the user, it's going to carry with the transport request, and when it comes here, the product system, the role will have this user instead of this user. Okay, it's going to replace everything. Now you may think, then if it is so risky, then why do we have this option? But we have this option for a different reason. Let's say if your system is consistent with your development system and quality system, you have the same users, and you create all these users in development and quality and the same time, or in productive system in same time, so all the user is consistent, then you create the role, do your internal testing, and transport to your quality system, and you do all the testing, your assignments, everything is done with along with the user assignment, you can transport it to productive systems. That is going to be quite easy in some scenarios when if you are transporting along with the user. That's the reason SAP has this facility. However, we can disable this. If you don't want in your entire landscape, you can simply disable this. So that is all details also given here. If you want to log the system, again importing the user assignment for the role, you can specify in a customizing table called prgn underscore cust maintain using that transaction SM30. We will see how it is being maintained. SM30 is a transaction code to maintain tables. So using SM30, you can maintain this specific table with this field with the value no, then the option to transport the users will be disabled automatically. Again, with giving more detail about CUA, if you are using CUA, do not transport with user assignment, because in CUA what happens, the concept is little different, because you are going to centrally control all the user from one system, so you're not going to have users in different system. In that case, don't transport with users. Then it gives more detail about how to compare the user master. We have the program called PFCG time dependency. This is again the same program which will be triggered when you click the user compare. We will also see that this one in detail, what is the use of it and what all context we need to use this. We've seen this one. This is quite important, that you need to schedule this program quite periodically. So you need to schedule this program for the sake of role assignment as well. Yeah, you also need to schedule this program for this purpose as well, that when you transport any roles with user assignment, then you need to do a user comparison in the specific target system, because you are going to change this user assignments. In my view, that if I design a SAP system for security, then we will not transport the user assignment to any productive systems. We will disable the entire user assignment during this transport, then it may not make much complication. We can also, it also gives you some more detail. We can also disable the profile transport. If you like to disable the profile transport, in the same table you maintain another parameter called profile underscore transport is no, then this also will be disabled. We will see that how to maintain this in this session later. At the moment I will say okay. Now we have these options. Select the object that are to be used when transporting the role. So do you want to transport user assignment? By default it is unchecked. If you want to transport it, you can transport it. If you, let's say if you change this customizing table which we discussed, then this will be gray. The personalization, again, if you want to transport it, you can transport it, otherwise uncheck. Now it prompts you to create a transport request. The transport request, you have quite number of options. If you click here, create a request, then you can create a request. here you need to give some short description. Again, this again depends on your environment. Some companies, they are very specific about this description. It needs to have all the details, what it is doing and the versions and stuff like this. Again, you need to align with your internal procedures, or you need to create, or you can also create your own kind of perfect procedure for security. In my case, I will say, I will start with like this: security, then say change. If I say change means I'm changing an existing role, otherwise I will say create. This is a creation of new role which is related to sorry, then I have PM, then what was the functionality, then the if I have a reference number, then I will put a reference number for the change, and I will put the date, specific date. Otherwise I will say 01 version 1. Then you need to select the target. Generally the target is again given by your basis. Then you need to select the target. In our case, we will just leave it blank. Then this target means on what is your target location to transport this TR. So that will be selected, that will be provided by basis. Then you will select that. In our case, I will just leave it blank and say save this. Then it will create a number. This is again a running number. It says customizing request. Yeah. I will copy this one, then continue. Now if you see, it gives you the detail. The following roles are entered in the transport request, this specific transport request. This is the role. It says mass transport of roles. There is an option that you can create your transport more than one role, a mass transport of role. Right now we selected only one from that specific button. We will see how to transport mass transport. The reason why we have mass transport is generally when you do a change, you need to transport more than one roles. Let's say in master role you are doing a change, you also put all the derived roles together in the master role and transport it. It is not one role you will select. Most of the cases you need to select multiple roles and transport it. We will come to that again, to that one. At the moment it will also give you the details of all the transport which is included in the transport request. Now we created the transport request. Let's see how to view this transport request. Let's say this is our transport request. Now how to view this transport request? To view the transport request, you can go to the transaction code SE10. In SE10 you have different options. It says, okay, this is the user. Then you can search the customizing request or workbench request. In our case is only customizing. If our request status modifiable and release. Modifiable means this request is still on development system, you can still modify this. Release mean it already released to the quality, then after that you cannot modify it. Okay, at the moment we only created this one, this TR, we did not released it yet. So if you wanted to search, you simply click here, display. So this is the TR which we created. So when you click here, when you click that, so when you click this one, it will give you all the TRs which is presently available with this user security trainer, which is presently modifiable. I also have some another things for testing. So this is the TR which I created. If you want to see the content of the TR, you simply click this one, and you have one more TR number here. This is called the task. That means one TR can have multiple tasks. You can create another task and add it to the same TR. So let's say you wanted to put everything into one package, but you wanted to have different tasks assigned to different people, then you can change this one to different users and assign to different ones. So let's see how do we see this content. Inside the task, you can see now we create this is our role, yeah, which we have added, and we have table of content, what are all the tables it's coming from, different tables, and you have the customizing table contents, and these are all the table contents. So basically the customizing objects means, as you know, these are all some entries which is coming from tables. So these are all the tables which is already available. So we don't get into the tables now. We see, okay, this is the TRs, this is the role which is added to this particular TR. So this the way you can see the TR. So once this TR is created, let's assume we have done our job, then you will release this TR. Some cases this will be released by different person. For time being, let's release it. We will also see how to develop an authorization concept for a transport request, or how to handle the transport request, because this is also quite interesting, because many a time all the companies would like to have a proper authorization concept in the transport handling, because this is very very sensitive, and it's a security issue in many of the cases, because again it comes under audit and compliances. So this is also security is one of the main responsibility in a good scenario. In an auditable environment, you need to have a perfect authorization concept for transport handling. We will see that in a different lecture, how to create a concept for a transport handling. Okay, right now I already released the transport request. Now the transport release. Now if you see, you can see the log. So to release the transport request, you see, I just simply select and say release. Okay, then it will release. If you see this one, this means this transport been released. Okay, so let's assume now I don't know this transport is released or not. If I go to display again, if you see, this transport is not there. The transport which we have created is not there. That means it's already released. It's not modifiable anymore. So you go back, instead of modifiable, I'll select release. Now I have the TR which I released just now. Now if you wanted to see the log of this TR, you can simply click this and select transport log. Then it will give you the log, which are all the systems it has been released and who is released, and this kind of informations. Next, look at how to create a transport request for a composite role. Let's go back to PFCG. Okay, this is one of the composite role which we have created, which have some multiple single roles. Then click transport. During transporting composite role, that you have more than one option here. You say also transport the single role from the composite role. This is an additional option what you are getting. So if you select this, the single role also will be included in your composite role. Actually, that's the best way to transport the composite roles. If you don't select this, it will transport only the table entry of the composite role. It will not transport the content of the single role. So it's always transport along with the single roles, then it will be consistent over the landscape. So when you select this, okay, we got the message. Say okay, personalization I don't want, I just want to transport it like this. I create one more option, say security related transport, create, and for this a transport role number 01. Okay, this is my transport request. Now if you see, these are all the additional roles which will be transported along with this transport. The interesting part what you will see here is we selected only this one, right? This is our composite role, and these are all the derived roles inside this composite role. But when you select this derive role, and it also select the master role for this, so it will include everything which is required for this composite role. You can also see the whole detail here. If you see, this is a composite role, this is the master role for this original master role. So based on this original master role, it is included this master roles. So without the master role, the idea behind that is, without the master role, the derived role cannot exist. So it will always include the master role along with the derived role. So let's go back. Now let me release this TR. To release the CR, we have another one transaction code called SE01. If you go to SE01, you can also release the TR here. You can directly put in the TR number and you can see display. We have the TR number. If you see, it included the composite role, all the derived role and the master role. You can select and you can say release, and if you double click here, you can see the content of this TR. These are the objects which is included in the TR. If you wanted to have some documentation, you can add documentation. Now we are in display mode. You change it to change mode, then have some documentation for the TR, and these are all the content. Okay, the content always, this is quite important. If you see the content, this is the program ID R3 TR, it's an R3 TR. This is the object type. So all the roles which you will be transporting will have the object type ACGR. This is an object type of a role. And for example, table have an object type TABU. This is a table. For roles, it is ACGR. Now we have the composite role and we have all the derived roles. So if you want to release this one, what I do is I select here and say release. The task is released, and select this and release. So once you release a TR, what it will do is it will create some files in the SAP server to transport the file to a different system. Okay, right now this TR is released. Now let's see how to search a transport. To search the TR, you will go to the transaction code SE03. Now you may wonder, why should I search a TR, or why should I search a transport request? The scenario is like this. You did some changes and you are doing, let's assume you are managing a big system. Every day you will modify your roles, and you have, for some different reason, you are transporting it. So you wanted to find out this role was modified when, and when it was released, or what was the TR transport request which was created for this specific modification. When this changes comes to your productive system, these are all very important things to find out, or to find what has happened in a specific time, specific date. There will be a lot of requirement or lot of time you may like to see what was the TR I changed this specific object, or what was the change what was the change request, or what was the change which was happened in this specific time. And then you need to find out what is the TR number of this one. For that, you go to SE03. In SE03 you can search, you can do quite a lot of things, and you can search objects. The first option is search for object in request or in task. We know what is transport request. We also know what is task. Task is a part of a request. So you select this and click this execute button. So you have to be very specific. If you select this one and click this, then it will go to analysis. So you select this one, then you say select. Here you can select all the objects which is related to a transport request. If you wanted to search a program, you put a program name here and select this specific thing and search. And function group, class, tables, view, table type, data elements. Our roles are not here. So what we do is you go here and type ACGR, then select this one, then you see it's role. Now you specify a role name, then you can also give who transported one specific user. If you wanted to see, you can see a specific user. If you have a request number, you can specify the request number and see, or let's say, or between some, you have a lot of request number and you wanted to see in the specific request number which one is that, or some kind of selection criteria, or in a specific date, within this specific date this role was changed, did we change in this specific date. So you can also see the status, released or modified. Let's say released at the moment. I wanted to see how many TRs we have which contain these specific roles. Say search. Okay, I got two. First one is this TR number for the customizing which we have created earlier, and the second one is actually the task. So now I know this particular date, this was the user did something in this specific transport request for this role. So I click this one and go to display, otherwise just simply double click, and you can see what all the object which was included in this one. So if you also keep the documentation proper, then you know for what you created this particular TR. So that is the way to trace your TRs, or to search the TRs. This is quite important when you diagnose a issue that you wanted to find out who changed, why this particular TR role was changed, what was the TR number related to that, then you can trace back, then this is the role, or this is the transaction code where you can search all these changes. Let's go back to our presentation. So next one is authorization profile setting. We also already read about this in our previous slide, that how to change this authorization profile settings. Let's change the setting, then you will understand this. Let's go to our system and make a small change. I will go to change this setting which we have seen, SM30. SM30 is a transaction code to change any tables. You go to SM30, you can see maintain table view. Now you put the table name here. Our table name is ERGN underscore CUST. This is our table name. Let's display first what it has. So this table have one assignment called assign role authorization change one entry. So let's add our entry here. If you go to maintain, it says caution, this table is a cross client table. You already know what is cross client table. You have client specific table and you have cross client table. All the customizing changes is your client specific, and this specific table is a cross client. So whenever if I change anything, it is going to affect the entire system, all the clients. Now let me put the profile name here. If you select here, you can also find it here in detail. You select, maybe this is quite important to see. that we have quite a lot of configuration settings which you can change. Let's say our important one is like profile transport. So do you want to transport this profile? This is what we are trying to do. And you have quite a lot of changes which you can change. Say SU25 step 2 switch off. That means if the step 2 that you can switch on and off. You can also create additional profiles. So based on your some nodes, for example, this is a node which is saying it's actually absolute, but these are all additional customizing fields which you can also create. Okay, let's go to our this is the one which you like to change it now. Select this and say no. Now I save. Now if you see, it's asking me to create a transport record by default. I did not ask for anything, so it's asking me to transport because it's an workbench change. It's an workbench request. If you see, okay, right now it gave me an option for an existing transport request. That means I did not select it because I did something before, so it asking whether do you want to include these changes also in this transport request. If I say yes, then it will also include here, otherwise you can create a new transport request. This is not security, this is for example basis. This can be done by anybody, basis or security. In many cases this will be an workbench change, then it will be done by Ababus, or we can also do this basis authorization profile disable. Say okay. Now the profile is disabled. If we can go to SC01, have a look into this. Then select the TR. Now you can see there is a table which has this particular content, profile transport. Now if I transport something, let's go to PFCG again, take one role, I click transport. Now if you see, you cannot select this option. That means by default this has been disabled. So if you do not want the profile to be transported in your landscape, you can go to this particular customizing table and disable the transports totally. So this particular customizing table not only have transport, it also have so many other options. Let's go to SM30. This is my table. I don't want the changes again. Let me go and simply delete it. Save. I can add it in the same transport. Here you can see quite a lot of options. Maybe you can go through this once so that you are aware what are all the options presently available. It's not much used. I mean, it is not, you may not use it every day, but once in a while you may use it. Since if you have the idea what are all the options available, then you know you can do this or not. For example, some couple of first one, if you see add underscore a double l underscore cust underscore object, this is basically, if you say yes, then it gives full authorization for customer authorization objects. As we know, customer authorization object start with Z and Y, that can be added into your SAP all. In general cases it will not be added. So if you can maintain this kind of information here, then it will be added. Like there is quite a lot of authorizations which is available here. So like this we can still modify different things, the PFCG as well as quite a lot of authorization changes. You can customize it here. Close this. No further changes. Okay. We also have another object which is user release underscore import no does not transport the user assignment. So if you do not want to transport the user assignment, you simply go and select this one no, then it will be disabled. Now let's come to download and upload of roles. So far what we have seen is when you are doing any changes in the roles, if you want to transport the role or if you want to take this role to a different system, that we create a transport. We have another option called download and upload of roles. You can download the roles directly into your PC and upload it to the another system if you want to upload a different system. So it will come directly to your PC, then upload it in a different SAP system. That is one very good advantage what we have in role maintenance. Generally we create transport. Now you may be confused, why do I need to download and upload? Generally yes, you create a transport request and transport your development and productive system in a same scenario. Let's assume you want to download and upload in a different landscape. You created a role, you have an authorization concept, but you want the same authorization concept to be put in a different system. Then what you can do is you can also take that particular transport you have created and import into a different system. You can tell the basis guys, okay, this is a TR, can you give me this files related to the TR? Then they will get these files from the SAP system. You give it to the other basis guy, or you tell them, okay, take these files, put it in the other system, then you can import it. That is also possible. But in download upload is very simple. You simply download it into your local drive, then upload in a different system, then you are done. But in download upload you don't get all these profiles and other related information. It's a pure raw data. So we will see how this can be done in your SAP system. Now we are in our system with client. Our client is client 800. So let's go to PFCG. So let's take this role. Okay, this is the role which we created for some master maintenance catalog, and we have one more system, but in the same system different client. Yeah, client 810. If you go to PFCG, the roles which we have created in 800 will not be available in 810 because it's a customizing changes. This is client independent changes. So let's go to 800. Now let's assume I want the same role to be available in 810. What we can do, you can simply go to select role and say download. Then it will ask you to select the location where you wanted to save. Select this, and you can go to your computer. Let's say select one location. Yeah, then you can save it here. As a file. If you save, okay, yes, we are permitted. Now it's creating a file, trying to create a file with this name. Okay, I say allow always, say okay. Now action performed successfully. Okay, let's go and check the file. Now if you see, we have a file which is created by SAP with an extension of .sap. So this is the downloaded file. Now what we can do is, let's go to our second client, client 800. Go here, client 800. We do not have this role here, so you don't need to actually specify anything. You go here, file, and say upload. select and simply select the file, open. Of course we need to allow them, allow always, say OK. It says the file contains the following roles to be uploaded. So normally you don't know what is inside the file, so that's the reason you have an information to say okay, these are all the roles which is available, then you wanted to import. And also if this will also give, right now the status is green. If there is an role which is already existing in the same name, then you can see the status is red. It will give you the message okay, it says it's already there. Say okay, you can also see that later. Now this has been imported. Right now you can see okay, it got the name, and if you display, and right now this was created by security trainer, and this is the menu. And if you see the authorization, you do not have the profile. Okay, so you need to, after download upload, you have to generate the profile into the target system. The profile is not downloaded, it's actually a raw file. When you go to change, go to authorization and go to change authorization, save, create a profile. Got the profile number, again you need to have a different profile number in this client. Okay, now it has been created. See, now if you go to display and see, everything is green. Now we have uploaded this role to the client 810. Now what we can do is, let me try to upload this role again, then you can see what is the error message we are getting. I select the same one, says role already exists in the system. Some of the role already exists in the system. These role have red traffic light in the list. If you continue, this activity group will be overwritten. That means if you say continue, then it will override the existing one. If I say okay, now if I go to the change mode, you can see this authorization is already yellow. That means it's overwritten, but it still have the profile. So you need to go change. So meaning to say, if you have an existing role with the same name, it will be overwritten with the new changes which you are uploading. Okay, now we've seen how to download and upload a single role. Now what happens if I download and upload a composite role? Okay, let's try it. Will everything come same like our transport? I don't know. Let's try. Let's take one composite role. Okay, this is our composite role, okay, which has lot of roles. So let me download, select the role, then you go to file and say download. Download the role, select the location here, say okay. Now it says action performed successfully. Let's go to our other system, means other client. Let's go to PFCG. Let me upload it now. Okay, say this is our role. Open, always allow. Okay, now it see, when you downloaded, it downloaded all the single roles related to the composite role, and it also downloaded all the related mastered roles, that the template role which is linked to this derived roles. Otherwise it will be inconsistent in the coming system. That's the reason it downloaded everything. So I already select OK. Everything is green. That's the reason, without any trouble we said OK. Now it's importing the roles. Now all the roles are uploaded into our system. Now what happens if you see the composite role, which has quite a number of single roles as well as its related master roles, what happens to these profiles? So let's take these roles. Let me copy these roles, put it here for my reference. Like this. So it does not have an authorization profile. So we need to create an authorization profile for each single role. So right now we imported quite a lot of roles. Now we have actually an option called mass generation. Let's go to our presentation. We have the detail. This is mass transport. We will come back to this again. It's called mass generation. Mass generation means that you can generate more than one roles in the same time, or you can also do mass compare. We do this user comparison for one specific role. We can do mass compare of this role. First let's see mass generation. That means, for example, the scenario what we have, that it needs to create or it needs to update this profile. In our scenario right now is we need to create this profile more than one role. So instead of going to each and every roles one by one, we can do this in a mass generation. So to do this activity, what you will do is you will go to utility and mass generation. First let's prepare the list of our roles. So this is our derived roles which we imported right now, and we also have the master role related to this one. So right now I don't know the master role. How do I get that? I will go to this table, SC16 agr underscore define. I put all my derived roles and I got the master roles. So these are all the master roles also we imported. So now you also know what is the reason we need to get into these tables, because it's quite easy to get this in one shot. So this is the roles which we are going to do a mass generation. Let me go to my target. Okay, so you go to PFCG, go to utilities. You have quite number of options here. First one is mass generation. This is to generate the profiles. Second one is mass comparison for comparing user. Then we have mass transport, mass download. Mass download means you can download more than one roles in the same time. So far what we have seen is you can download one role at a time. Mass transport also same, you can transport more than one roles at a time. We will come to this again. First go to mass generation. Here you can see couple of different options that you can generate the role based on the current status of the profile. So if it does not have the current status of the profile is incorrect, then based on the status you can regenerate these profiles. In our case we do not have a profile at all. Then if they say also roles with no authorization data, currently we do not have it. If you say all roles, it automatically generates all roles irrespective of what is the status of this profile. It will generate all. So in this case I will say I select all roles and generate automatically. That means generate all profiles to be generated. So that means it will automatically generate all the profile which needs to be generated. Okay, here you can key in the roles, you can specify the roles. So let me copy my roles here and paste it here. So I got all the roles. You can also restrict based on changed by, who changed. Let's say I changed it and put the names, and it will select all these roles. Here you can do this role generation, just execute this, then you can do it foreground. You can also do it in background. If you have quite large number of roles, you can do it in background. That would be a better choice. So right now I will do in foreground. It says total number of profile is 3. That do you want to do it in background or online? Say online. It generated 3 different profiles. So unfortunately this looks a little bit strange. Why it generated only 3 profiles? Now if you see, this generated only for master roles. It did not generate the derive roles. So let me go back and say to be compared. If you go back and say this is the status of your profiles, it say to be compared, meaning you do not have a master role at all. Then how can you have a derived role? Only 3 roles generate the profile, 3 still did not generate the profile. Actually if you see, this will not happen in actual scenario. We imported the master role and derived role concept altogether, so it generated the master role but it did not generate the derived role. Actually if you see, you have to go to the master role and should generate all the derived roles within the master role using the PFCG option. Okay, now what I will do is I will need to go to all this master role and generate this derived roles. Change authorization data. Okay. Generate derived role. If I go back and check my derived role, document manager, they already created its profile. So for the derived roles, so you need to create the profiles. Once you created the profile, you can still do the master generation to update the profiles. The next one is mass compare. We will come to this again. We will finish this slide because we skipped this one. Mass transport and mass download. Okay, let's see the first one, mass transport. If you go to PFCG, if you click here, this will transport only what we have selected. If you say transport, you have the option called mass transport role. If you select here, this is grayed out, so you cannot transport more than 1 roles using this one. But if you go back, let's assume that you have more than 1 roles which needs to be transported, then you go select here and go to mass transport. Now if you see, we are coming to the same screen, same like the previous one. When you click the transport button, then you get to this screen, but now you can select what you wanted to transport. Let's say is that PM C composite role, select all. Then I want to do select all these roles and click OK. Okay. Now you execute. We come to the same screen, same as before. Select whatever is required. I'll create a role. I will create a TR. Let's say mass transport test. This is my TR number. Click OK. So now you can see it transporting all the roles. So you can do a mass transport like this. The reason why we need to use mass transport is, like, let's say in a in generally in rollouts, what we do is we create all the roles and we will test it in the development system, the unit test also, some kind of like the internal test we will do it in the development system, whether we can get into the transaction, but we cannot, if without data we cannot test it properly. We'll test it in the development system. Once everything is there, then we do a mass transport. That will be quite easy to do. Then let's see what is the mass download, PFCG. So right now here also, if you say download, it will download only this role. So if you want to download more than this, then you can go to mass download, then select all the roles. Let's say same like what I selected before. Let's take all, select all the role you want to download, click, say okay, you are going to download all, say mass download, then it will download all the roles. Then if when you upload, it will, everything will be one file, then you can upload it into the system. Let's say in our client 810, let me try to upload it. I did not give an extension, SAP should be there, so doesn't matter. But we say always okay. Now if you see, some of them are green, some of them are red, we are going to override something. Okay, then it will start uploading the roles one by one. Now I will also should show you how does the downloaded file look like. So if you open the download file, actually you can open this file in Excel sheet. So what we do is we go to Microsoft Excel, let's go to file and open, select all files. This is a file which we would like to open it, say open. If you see, these are all like an Excel file. Okay, simply say finish. If you can see, it has all the data whatever we have it in the roles. So basically these are all some table entries. We are just downloading all the table entries with their table names and what is the entry in this table. So you upload it, then you will upload the whole thing as it is to a new system into the table. Again it will create the table entries. Actually technically what we can do is you can also edit some of the information if you require in this Excel file, but make sure you save it back in the same format. Then you can, instead of changing in the roles, you can still do some changes here. Technically it's possible. If you change the orientation of the whole file, then you are going to mess up the entire roles. So let's not do anything. No, I don't want to change, just leave it like that. Okay, now we've seen mass upload and mass download, and we also seen mass transport. Now let's come to mass compare. This mass compare, that you can do user comparison more than one user or more than one role. The PFCG time dependency. This is the program which is used for this mass compare. First let's go to the mass compare. Go to PFCG. Go to mass compare. Here you have quite number of options. You can select as many roles as you like. Once you select, schedule or check job for full reconciliation, that will reconcile the entire roles. Then second one is perform user master comparison. This will be generally we select this, and we have some editing types. Profile matchup, it will match up the profile. compare the role and reconcile, role reconciliation, HR org management reconciliation, which we already seen. This will reconcile the HR OM assignments that, as we seen in the indirect assignments, also can be reconciled, and it also do the cleanups. This another option, display logs. You can also display logs if it is necessary. Then if you don't need it, you can just leave it. I prefer to keep it display log, so at least you know what has been happened. The reason why we need have this mass compare, you assign multiple roles to different users. If you want to do a mass compare, then we can use this mass compare. Then we have the next one, which is we have this program called PFCG time dependency. Generally this program is scheduled on a periodic basis in all system, that it will do a reconciliation of all your profiles every day. So let's say for it's like this, you assign a role today, and let's assume this is going to expire today. This validity ends today, and tomorrow it's not going to be valid, but your profile, if it is assigned in the profile tab to the user, it is going to be valid. So somebody has to reconcile this profile and say that okay, tomorrow it's not going to be valid. So like this kind of inconsistency in the user profile or reconciliation of the profiles will be done by this program. So this program is scheduled periodically. You can schedule this program in background. You should schedule this program in background every day, but you can also run it in foreground just for testing purpose. In this case, let me run it like this. If you see, it's doing a reconciliation of HR org management, then it is doing composite role reconciliation, then it's doing a profile matchup, now it gave me some informations. Let's say it does not have some, these roles does not have profiles or authorization, some different, these are all the standard roles which is delivered by SAP. Doesn't matter, it's okay. Some information, and it also shows some of the roles which we imported. Everything seems to be fine. Some roles still in yellow, which does not have a profile, as we know. Some roles are fine. So this job is very important, that this has been discussed many times, that you need to schedule the job every day, at least once a day in the night should be scheduled to reconcile the roles as well as the profiles. Now let's go back to our presentation. We seen mass generation to generate profile, mass comparison for comparing the user and mass. We seen mass transport, mass download. We also seen the use of PFCG time dependencies. Now let's talk about transporting of user master records. So far we have seen what is transporting of roles, but how do we transport user master? As we also seen, okay, once you are transporting role, you have an option to select users, which also transported along with this role for user assignment. Now user master transporting, now you may think, why do I need to transport the user? The thing what we are talking about is when you are creating a new client, or let's say you have a quality system, you have a system that you wanted to copy it in a, let's say you have a system, maybe it's a quality system. Let's take an example, it's a quality system. You want to create one more system for a different purpose, maybe for testing, or maybe for training. Let's assume it's for training. The another one is for quality. Then you want to have all the users and the profiles, everything same as it is in the new client or new system. You can do that using client copy. We already know what is client in our SAP. Let's say this is our SAP system. We have repository object, we have cross client customizing, then we have customizing, which is for each client, This is assume this is one client and this is a secondary client. Then we have application data and the customizing data for one client, and we have application data for and customizing data for another client. So in case of you create a new client, also you can copy the client with only the user master data. Otherwise, even an existing client, let's say you have an existing client, you have lot of data, you have a lot of things done, but you want to replace all the user master from this client to this client, also possible using this client copy. Generally the client copy will be done by basis team, but the user perspective, which is good that you know how this is being done, then you can also provide this as a solution for the customer. You may think, okay, this is a basis task, why do I need to know? It is very important that you understand this logic, because in a bigger scenarios, when you create new systems and new clients, then you have an option to copy all this user master. It's very simple. Instead of creating these users in a different system, you can just copy it. And one more advantage of doing this, that your user, you will get it same as it is, and the password also going to remain same. So you don't need to do this double administration every time. You can tell the users, okay, we have a new client, your user ID is same, password is same, authorization is same, end of story. So you don't need to do double administration. Now we have something called local client and remote client. What is local client? Let's assume you have one SAP system like our PRD system. That is one system. We create a new client in the same system, then it is called local client. Then we will do a local client copy. But you can also do the copy to a remote client. That means a different SAP system. Different SAP system, you want to create a client in a different SAP system, but the copy should be coming from a different system. That also possible. That is called remote client copy. So this remote client copy is done in quite different ways. You can also copy it remotely through RFC, or you can also copy it like a file. You can export the client to a like a transport request and import it here. That also possible. But to copy it to using RFC, then you need to also think of the bottlenecks of your network speed, because you are going to copy quite large data. So you have to be very careful about this client copy, what method of copy you are trying to use it. So when you do a client copy for users, these are all the contents which will be copied: user master record, roles, authorization profiles, and the check indicators, what is specific to each users and roles, as well as the behavior of the PFCG. If you want to do a local client copy, then you will use the transaction code called SECL to do a local client copy. We have two type of remote client copy as we seen. First one is remote copy, that means using this RFC, using the RFC connection SEC9, and client export is XEC8. That's the one you export it to a file, then you give it to somebody, put in a hard disk and put it in the other system, then import it again. That is SEC8. Maybe I can show you a little bit how does this looks like. Go to /n SCCL. To do a client copy, that you should log into the destination client first, then you will select the source client. Now I am in the destination client 810. Now you can select you can say this is the target client, then you need to select what is the source client, where do you want to copy from 800, then you will run 800. Now here is the one which you will select what do you want to copy. So if you wanted to copy users, only the users and profiles, the contents what we have seen, then you need to select the profile. We're quite different profiles. If you say SAP all, this is all client specific data without change documents. It will copy everything. That's called SAP all, highest everything. In our case, we will use SAP_user. This will copy user master record and authorization profile. And we also have something called SAP profile. This will copy only authorization and profiles and roles. And we also have SAP underscore U only, then user without authorization profile and roles. That means it will copy only the users. Like this, you have quite number of options. You can select whether you wanted to copy with customizing only with users and profiles, or customizing and user variants. You can select like this depending on the requirement what you want to do at the moment. Or you can also do SAP all without authorization and profile roles. So you want to copy everything but you don't want users and roles, then we can select this. Only user role and profile also possible if you wanted to copy only the user and roles. You will select this and execute. You will schedule it in background. You can also do a test run, then it will start copying. So we will not do this now. It will replace everything. Just leave it like that. And if you go to SCC 9, this is remote client copy. Then you need to select your destination, RFC destination, then you will start copying it from there. And SCC 8, this is for client export. Then you select the profile and then you will be exporting to the target system. Okay, this is user master transport. Actually this information is very important, that you are working in a bigger projects, that you wanted to, let's say, normally what happens is, let's say you have a different type of testing procedures. So you have, let's say, 1,000 users who is working on QA system, who was testing a lot of things, lot of scenarios, and everything is fine. Now you want to do a data take on or some in a different system. Data take on means you will migrate all the data in one system, and the end user or the key business user need to check and see, okay, all this data is correct. That time you cannot create all these 1,000 users in the different system, and you will be working in different tight situations. So what you will do is just copy all this user and mask roles and everything, put it there, then give it to them. Okay, now you check your data, then they will check the data, that everything is fine, just go ahead. Otherwise, let's say we do the quality, then you wanted to create a training system with the same user, you just simply copy everything and put it there in the training system, so it can use it for training. So this client copy will be very useful in the project phase to create or to create different system with the same users and same authorization. With this, we are coming to the end of this session. Thank you very much for listening. I will see you in the next session. Bye bye.